Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. It's a very nice day to have Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan. It's a warm sunny day. Even when it's not warm and sunny, it's nice to have Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan. Whether it's winter, summer, because here you have only two. So whether it's winter or summer, whatever be the season, in happiness or in distress, in pain or pleasure, in whatever the external circumstances, the functions of the soul must not be neglected. This is the ultimate duty. In this world, people are rightly so concerned about duties. And if we are not dutiful, then there is disturbance in society. So someone is in a family situation, so then he or she has to be responsible to discharge the duties of the family. Someone's working in a job, then that person also has to be dutiful in discharging his or her responsibilities at work. Whether it's a student or a businessman or anyone, even a common citizen has to be dutiful. We have to follow the rules and regulations, the laws. And if people are not dutiful, then that creates a disturbance, it causes havoc. Generally, people could think about duty in terms of the body and our bodily situation. And we give a lot of emphasis to that. However, we do not give any emphasis to the most important duty we have in life. And this duty is one which continues on life after life. Our material duties change, not just life to life, but they change moment to moment sometimes. So the world is ever changing, and the duties that go with it are also ever changing. When we are children in school, we have one kind of duty. We get into college, we have another kind of duty. When we are working, we have another kind of duty, set of duties. When you get married and have children, then you have another set of duties. So in this way, we all have a variety of duties in life. And when the topic of Krishna consciousness comes up, people usually say, well, I have so many duties to perform, and therefore I do not have time. I'm very busy with performing all these different duties. Important as these other duties are, and as important as it is for us to discharge them very nicely, the fact remains that they are ever changing. Circumstances change, We change our job, our duty changes. You move in from unmarried life to married life, duties change. You were not a devotee, you become a devotee, now your duties change. Now when you become a devotee of Lord Krishna, you accept the ultimate duty of all, the permanent duty. Duty that does not change with time, place, person and circumstances. This is the ultimate duty. Why is that and how is that possible? Because it is concerned with the soul. The soul is eternal. The body is temporary. So everything connected to the body, including the duties, are also temporary. Whereas the duty connected with the soul is eternal because the soul is eternal. So when we speak of these duties in general, we call it dharma. Now the word dharma is a very loaded word. It has many meanings in different contexts. But in general, one can say dharma means the kind of duties and obligations we have at any given point in time, in a given situation. So these dharmas are always changing. They don't last for long, they don't last forever. Our dharma as a student is over once we have passed out of school and college. When we were children, we had one kind of dharma. When your children are grown up and independent, your dharmas are a little different. So these dharmas change. But there is one dharma that is pertaining to the soul that doesn't change ever. And that is called Sanatana Dharma. The word Sanatana means eternal. That which never changes. So the Sanatana Dharma is our ultimate duty. Because it is our permanent duty. It is our most important duty. And what has happened? Life after life, for millions and trillions of lives, we have neglected this most important duty because we are busy with discharging our material duties. As I mentioned earlier, undoubtedly, it is important for us to discharge our material duties properly also, but not necessarily always at the cost of our eternal, permanent and most important duty. And this is generally the mistake that most people make, either with knowledge or without knowledge. So Sanatana Dharma is also called Jaiva Dharma. Jaiva because it relates to the jiva or the soul. It's also called Krishna consciousness. It's also called Bhagavat Dharma. Dharma that pertains to Bhagavan or God. That dharma by which we can obtain love for God. That is the ultimate dharma. And this is the whole message of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. He says, my dear Arjuna, abandon all varieties of dharma and simply surrender unto me. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. In other words, Krishna is asking Arjuna to abandon all the inferior varieties of dharma and to take to the highest dharma, which is Krishna consciousness. Of course, that doesn't mean that if somebody is in family life and if he or she takes to Krishna consciousness, then they will have to give up their family. That's not the case. When Krishna speaks of giving up all other dharmas, he is essentially speaking about how we should give up the mentality that goes with considering ourselves to be this body. And we surrender to Krishna. So this process of surrendering to Krishna and following his instructions is called Krishna consciousness. To be conscious of Krishna with love. So the Sanatana Dharma that we have is a process of removing the rust from our heart. When there are iron filings, they automatically get attracted to a magnet. But if the iron filings get rusted, then they do not get attracted to the magnet. But if you file the iron filings, little pieces of iron, rub off the rust, then again their capacity to be attracted to the magnet will be there. So the capacity of that iron piece to be attracted to the magnet has not disappeared because of the rust. It has only got covered. Once you remove the rust by some process, then the natural condition of the iron piece is revealed, and the iron automatically gets attracted to the magnet. So similarly, as a soul, our natural condition is to be attracted to Lord Krishna, who is our origin, who is our source. And we have a natural and constitutional relationship of love with Krishna. But however, we are now rusty. So in this position of rust, we are not able to be attracted to Krishna. Krishna is the all-attractive person, the all-attractive Godhead. The fact that we are not attracted to Krishna itself is quite a remarkable thing. And that is because the rust is so heavy. The rust is forgetfulness of Lord Krishna. Because of being so attracted to this world, and sometimes being attracted too much to the temporary dharmas of this world and neglecting our eternal dharma. So finally, when we are fortunate enough to contact a bona fide spiritual master, then we get the understanding. Today, as Krishna Kirtan Prabhu announced, is Guru Purnima. It is the day of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is also offered respect on this day. Vyasadeva, as you know, is the compiler of the Vedas. He is the editor of the Vedas. And he is the great saintly person because of whom we have all the scriptures available today. If it wasn't for him, the spiritual knowledge would not have been available. It is because great saints like Vyasadeva have come and given us this knowledge that we have access to understanding this Sanatana Dharma. Generally, people have a very materialistic conception of Dharma. And it is these materialistic conceptions of Dharma that Lord Krishna is asking us to reject when he says, give up all varieties of religion, sarva dharman parityajya. And the materialistic conception of religion is that I want to get something from Krishna in return for my worship. I want some material enjoyment. I want some position. I want some name and fame. I want wealth. So this is materialistically inspired religion. So I am using religion as a vehicle for some material purposes. So it is this kind of religion that Lord Krishna wants us to reject. The Srimad Bhagavatam says this is cheating religion, because this cheats us of the ultimate glory of the soul, the ultimate perfection of our life, which is to get that state of pure love and eternal happiness for which we're always hankering. Now, in forgetfulness of Krishna, we come under ignorance, and we do not realize who Krishna is. We don't realize who we are, and therefore we suffer in the cycle of birth and death again and again. Champaklata Mataji, Priya Mataji asked me to speak also something about karma and reincarnation. And then I saw so many devotees here who are all expert in the subject. All of you are well versed in all these topics. But nevertheless, it's always nice to hear a few things, even if it is about karma and reincarnation. So in forgetfulness of Krishna, what we do is perform activities for our own enjoyment, with no connection to Lord Krishna. And such activity is called karma. An activity that is pious, that yields material happiness, activities that are in normal terms called noble, that is karma, pious karma. When our karma is such that it causes violation of certain laws of the scriptures, certain moral and ethical codes, then that is called a sinful activity. It's called a sin. So there is punya and there is pap. Punya is pious activity and pap is sinful activity. So we generally perform both these activities. Sometimes we do punya, sometimes we do pap. Sometimes we do it knowingly, sometimes we do it unknowingly, because we don't know. For example, when you're traveling on the road, you're in a hurry. So sometimes you knowingly jump a red light. And sometimes you cross the speed limit unknowingly. You didn't know. You didn't see it. It was unknowing. But either way, you get the ticket. Yes? So similarly, whether you perform sinful activity knowingly or unknowingly, you still get the reaction. This is how karma works. And generally, religious or spiritual activity is confused with charitable activity, which is punya. Helping the poor, feeding the hungry, healing the sick, planting trees, digging wells for people, protecting animals. So all of this falls in the category of pious activity. Noble as these activities are, they are still going to give us material reactions. Those material reactions may be producing some pleasure for us. They may give us material pleasure, material happiness for some time. But when we enjoy it, then it's all gone. That account is settled. Then we have sinful activity that is going to produce suffering in our life. So when we suffer because of that distress, that sinful reaction, the process of suffering eliminates that or destroys that sinful activity now. So you've made up for it. Let me illustrate this with some simple examples. Suppose there's a criminal. He performs a crime and he's sentenced to 2 years in jail. So he goes to jail for 2 years and he has to suffer in the jail. His freedom is restricted. He has to live in the company of terrible people. The atmosphere is not good at all. Extremely frustrating. Full of sorrow. But once he finishes the 2 years, so he is now neutralized his crime. He can't be punished for the same crime again. Yes? Any lawyers here? So it's an established principle in law that you can't be punished twice for the same crime. So he comes out, now he's free. So whatever crime he committed has been neutralized by the suffering that he underwent in the imprisonment. He served out the sentence, now he's back to square one. Now he starts a fresh life. Imagine another person who works very hard and earns a lot of money and decides, now I want to enjoy myself for 6 months. So I will go to Hawaii and the Bahamas and I will go here and there and enjoy life. So he's made a lot of money. So he takes all his money with him and goes to these places for vacation. And he stays in the topmost hotels and spends a lot of money very lavishly. And within a few months, he's broke. He's finished all his money. Now when he finishes his money and he doesn't have any more left, then what does he do? He has to come back and start working again. So long as he had that money, he was able to enjoy life, enjoy material happiness, whatever happiness there is. But once that stock of money got exhausted, which he had accumulated by hard work, once the money finishes, then he has to come back. Then he's back to square one. So you see, we accumulate credits or debits in our life, and then we enjoy or suffer the reactions of those actions. And when that suffering or enjoyment is over, we're back to square one. And in this way, imagine that we are performing, this is only for one set of actions. We are performing hundreds and thousands of actions all our life. And when we keep on working and keep on acting like this, then we generate reactions that will come to us sometime in the future. Depending on whether those actions have been pious or sinful, we will get material happiness and success, or we will get material distress and failure. So because we commit a mixture of both these kinds of activities, so we get both suffering as well as some pleasure in life. We are all accustomed to that. Generally, however, the principle of the material world is that there is more suffering than distress. When you have a football competition, let's say in a World Cup, right? How many teams participate? I hope you don't know, but roughly 10, 20?
22.
Okay, let's say 20 teams, right? For argument's sake. Now 20 teams have qualified for the World Cup. There may have been another 100 or 200 or whatever number of teams that aspired to be there but were knocked out. So they were not eligible. So there's so much disappointment in all these other countries. Our team could not make it to the World Cup. So there you have the majority of the countries in distress. Yes? Now these 20 teams come. And they really struggle and struggle and struggle. And eventually to the semi-finals, only 4 make it. And then the other 16, there is devastation at home in their countries. Yes, they are sad like anything. People commit suicide, people do all sorts of things. And then there's 4 left. And finally when the finals comes, only 2 teams. So now the other 2 teams are in terrible sorrow. They cry, they do all sorts of things. Yes? Nations come to a standstill in sorrow. People sobbing like children on the streets. People committing suicide. So much suffering all over the world. And after the finals, only 1 team makes it. So 1 team is euphoric. They are jumping and dancing all night long and doing everything else that I won't mention here. And the other team that lost is down in the dumps. For them, it's like the end of life, the end of the world. So out of 150 countries, or whatever number of, I don't know how many countries there are, but whatever the number of countries, at least 100, 1 country makes it for now. So 90% or 99% of all the others are unhappy. Just 1% is happy. And even they won't be happy for long, because when the next time comes, they'll be knocked out and then they're sad again. So this is the nature of karma and the nature of material happiness and distress. It goes up and down, up and down. Sometimes pleasure, sometimes pain. Mostly pain, sometimes pleasure. So you can see there is more pain than pleasure, because the maximum number of people are in pain for the maximum amount of time. And a very small few are happy for a very short time. And this is called bliss or ecstasy or happiness in material life. So the ways of karma can never really guarantee us happiness, because they will bring this duality of our life, happiness and distress. And because we perform hundreds of thousands of activities, the reactions get intertwined in such a way that it becomes extremely complex and very hard for us to understand what the cause of our suffering or happiness is. We all experience happiness and suffering in life, and we may not always know the cause of it. Even though we may not be able to identify the cause, but surely we realize that there is a cause. The cause is unknown, but it exists. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have had this happiness or this suffering. So this cause, and there are hundreds of causes in the past performed in so many lives in the past, so we don't know. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Gahana karmano gatihi, that the ways of karma in this world are extremely hard to understand. We cannot figure out why we are suffering, for what specific reason we are suffering today. We have a certain kind of an ailment or an illness or some loss or some pain, whatever may be the sorrow or even the pleasure for that matter. And usually this goes by the name of luck. Because of luck, this team won. It was bad luck. He, struck the ball with his foot and it went into the goal. So there was talent, yes, but ultimately we all know there is this element called luck. What is that luck? That luck is nothing but our karma coming back to us in some way. Good luck, bad luck. That's how it is. So who knows what is what in this world? So the ways of karma cannot determine, we cannot understand the ways of karma. It reminds me of a story. One time there was a village, and the king of the country was going to war with another country which had attacked that kingdom. So the king sent out a message to all the able-bodied men in the kingdom that you have to enlist in the army and you have to fight the enemy. So naturally the king's soldiers came recruiting new people in every village, and there was a particular village in which most of the young men, they were recruited. So this was going on. Now before that, what happened is that there was this old man in that village. And one day, a horse, a wild horse, came into his farm on his own. And as you know, horses are very valuable. And in those days, that was the main means of travel and transport. So this horse came of its own accord, and this old man was very happy. Now he was wealthy with this horse. So everybody came to him and said, well, what good luck. So he said, well, good luck, bad luck, who knows. So, the people were thinking, what a strange man he is. What does he mean, good luck, bad luck, who knows? You got a brand new young horse for which we have to pay such a large amount of money. And this horse has come to you and you say, good luck, bad luck, who knows? It's good luck, of course. But he said, no, good luck, bad luck, who knows? So anyway, the other villagers went back thinking, this is a crazy old man. So anyway, his son, who was a young man, was riding this horse one time. And the horse somehow threw the old man's son, off his back. And the young man landed on the ground and broke a leg. So when he broke a leg, all the villagers came around to offer their condolences and to offer their support. They said, such bad luck. that your son broke his leg? And the old man said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? So everyone was thinking, what on earth is he saying? Good luck, bad luck, who knows? His son has broken a leg, isn't that bad luck? But he thinks it is good luck, bad luck, who knows? Anyway, they said this old man is an eccentric. So they went away. And then that was the time when the war was declared on that kingdom. And the king's soldiers came to recruit soldiers in that village as they were doing in other villages. And all the other young men in the village had to go away to the front, to the borders of the kingdom to fight. Only this man was spared because his leg was broken. So everybody came to him, to the old man, and said, oh, your son broke his leg. What good luck. So good luck, bad luck, who knows, he said. That's actually the way. He was a wise man. We can't understand the ways of karma. It is inscrutable. So also things happen in our life, good luck, bad luck. This is all karma, coming, going, coming, going. So we shouldn't be much bothered about the good luck, bad luck of this world. Someone wins a lottery, oh, you got good luck. But there was a situation, it's happened quite often. In America, there was a man who earned a multi-million-dollar lottery. So everyone said, good luck, good luck. Good luck, I have good news for you. You won this lottery. When he heard it, he got a heart attack and he died. So was winning the lottery good luck or bad luck for him?
Bad luck.
So good luck, bad luck, it goes on. So ultimately, we don't worry so much about this. Because we know that these things are ever changing all the time. Something is positive, something is negative. In the material world, nothing can be trusted to sustain. One time, there was a king, and he went out on a hunting expedition with some of his ministers. And it so happened that the king got lost. He went ahead because they were on horseback, so they were riding very fast, and somehow in the forest they lost the way. They got separated from the other ministers and the soldiers. So the king was only with one minister, the two of them alone went there. And actually the king, I think he was alone, he got lost. So he was captured by some dacoits. Now these dacoits, they wanted to perform a sacrifice for goddess Kali. And they believed in sacrificing some human beings for that. So they got this king, and the king said, I'm the king. So we don't care. We are living in the forest. For us, you're the same. So we are going to offer you to goddess Kali in sacrifice. So they prepared, and then suddenly one of them noticed. He said, look, this person doesn't have a thumb. The king doesn't have a thumb. Now the history to that was that one time when this king was doing something in the kitchen, he cut his thumb off. He cut his finger. And at that time he was very, very much upset. And he asked his minister, why has this happened to me? Why did I cut off my thumb like this? And the minister had told him that, well, whatever happens, happens for the good. So accept it. And the king was furious. You mean me losing my thumb is something good? He said, yes. And when he insisted that it was indeed good, the king became furious and he sent the minister to jail. And then he went out on this hunting expedition in which he got lost. And he was caught by these dacoits. And when they caught him, and they were going to sacrifice him to goddess Kali, one of them noticed that he's got no thumb. So we can't offer him in sacrifice because the person has to have all his limbs intact. So they let the king go. So that the king came back and he told the minister in the jail. He said, I release you. I understand what you said was right. You said it was good that I cut my thumb. It's for the good. And because my thumb was cut, therefore I was saved from these dacoits. So my life has been saved. So you were right. Whatever happens, happens for the good. But he said, I have one question. It was good for me that I cut my thumb because I was saved from being killed by those dacoits. But you went to jail. Was that good for you or bad for you? He said, that's also good for me. Why is that good for you? He said, because if you hadn't put me in jail, I would have been with you in the hunt. And they would have sacrificed me instead of you. So I would have been dead. So this is how the karma works. What's good, what's bad, what's lucky, what's unlucky, this goes up and down and up and down. So therefore Krishna says, Matra sparshas tu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agama payano nityastham stitikshasva bharata. My dear Arjuna, the happiness and distress and the ups and downs and the dualities of this world will come and go like the summer and winter seasons come and go of their own accord. We don't invite the summer to come, it comes by itself. We don't invite the winter, but it comes by itself. We do not make the winter go away, it goes away by itself. Similarly with summer. Similarly, we don't invite distress, it comes. We try to send away the distress, it remains. And the distress then goes away of its own accord when the time is right. So it's just as distress comes of its own accord, goes of its own accord, happiness will also come of its own accord, according to the karma we have performed previously. So Lord Krishna wants to tell Arjuna that we shouldn't worry so much about our material happiness and distress in life. Rather, we should try to worry more about how we can get out of the cycle of birth and death, this bondage of karma. It's because we perform karma, and then that karma generates reactions, and those reactions must come to us. So when this body is destroyed at the time of death, we have many pending reactions remaining that we have not experienced yet. Either positive or negative, pleasure or pain, and they will come to us. So in order to fulfill the requirements of this natural law of action and reaction, that every action must have an opposite reaction, in order to fulfill that, we have to take birth again when this body is destroyed. So the bondage of karma, the law of karma, then gradually brings us to understand that there must be reincarnation. There must be another life. Because the law of cause and effect must hold good. I've done actions, there will be a reaction. Good or bad. And because there are so many reactions pending, I will have to take another birth to face those pending reactions. And then when I get another birth, I have to again perform karma, sometimes sin, sometimes piety. And it goes on and on and on. This is called the Wheel of Samsara. It's going back and forth like a wheel. In a Ferris wheel, you go to one of these fun fairs and you have these huge, giant wheels and you go round and round and round. So the material world is like that. All of us are living entities, spirit souls. And we have got this material body. And we perform various types of karma. And then we have to get another body. And then another body, and another body, and another body. So it goes in the cycle of birth and death. Again and again, again and again. And the solution to this is to perform Bhakti Yoga, service to Lord Krishna. That is Sanatana Dharma, which I was referring to earlier. So long as we are preoccupied only with our material dharmas, our temporary dharmas, we will have to be locked in the cycle of birth and death. But when we take shelter of Lord Krishna and start serving Him, and this is called bhakti, it is called devotional service, it is called Krishna consciousness, to be conscious of Krishna with love, then gradually, our karma starts getting destroyed. And when we reach the perfection of our devotion to Lord Krishna, then we will reach a point where we become pure devotees, and we will not be obliged to take birth again in the next life. We will not take a material body. Rather, we will get a spiritual body in Krishna's kingdom, in the spiritual world. And this kingdom has no taxes, has no hospitals, no need for one. There is no pain, no traffic signals. You can go anywhere you want, at whatever speed you want. You can eat anything you like, don't have to worry about diabetes and all that. It's a world of complete bliss. You can live in the association of Lord Krishna and His loving devotees there in the spiritual world. That is our real home. And a spiritual body is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. This material knowledge a material body is exactly the opposite. Full of ignorance, full of misery, and temporary. So this material body is a product of our karma, previously performed. And the spiritual body that we get, that we want to get rather, will be a product of our bhakti, of our devotional service, which is beyond both pap and punya, beyond sin and pious activity. That is the process of serving Krishna. By the ninefold process, Navadha Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So by hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, remembering Him, worshipping Him, offering prayers to Him, and so on, we can actually become purified of all our karma. And we will eventually develop our spiritual body. Even as we are practicing Krishna consciousness, our spiritual body is gradually developing. Now, the spiritual body is in seed form, very tiny as the soul. The soul is an extremely tiny particle of spiritual energy. So we cannot figure out any shape or size or form to it. But when we start doing devotional service, slowly that body starts forming. To give a very crude analogy, as the child continues in the womb of the mother, its body develops. It's there in seed form from day one in the womb. But as the fetus gets nourishment from within the mother's body, then the body of the fetus grows, and eventually there is birth after 9 months. So similarly, when we come to Krishna consciousness, that's like day one in the womb. That also has a background, of course. And then we get nourished by Bhakti Devi, who is like our mother. So Bhakti Devi, when we take shelter of Bhakti Devi, she nourishes us spiritually. And then our spiritual body starts growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. Imperceptibly, we cannot understand how it happens. So Bhakti Devi happens, or the devotional service happens in the shelter of Bhakti Devi, and especially Srimati Radharani, who is the origin of all bhakti. So as we perform devotional service, then gradually the spiritual body develops, and when we are ready, when we become pure devotees, then that spiritual body fully develops. Eventually this material body will get destroyed. Then we don't have to take birth again in this world. We will go back to Krishna's kingdom. Everybody in this world is very anxious about the future. We are all preparing for the future, without exception. But our understanding of the future is limited only till death. But Bhagavad Gita tells us that we should prepare for the future after death. We should aim for a spiritual body, not just another material body in Hawaii or Bahamas. We should aim for a body that is full of bliss and happiness with Krishna in the spiritual world. We should recognize that this material world with its entanglements and complications of karma is only a source of distress and pain, agony and suffering. Therefore one great saint has prayed, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha sansare bahudustare, kripaya pare pahi murare. He says, Punarapi jananam, again taking birth. Punarapi maranam, again dying. Punarapi janani jathare shayanam, after death, again sleeping in the womb of the mother for 9 months. Iha sansare bahudustare. This material world is a very miserable place, my Lord. Kripaya pare pahi murare. So, O Murari, O Krishna, please deliver me from this miserable material existence. Let me come back to you in the spiritual world and be with you eternally and enjoy spiritual joy and happiness always. So this is the perfection of life. We want to be done with this law of karma business. We want to be through with it. Many people go to Switzerland. Some people go to eat chocolates and to just experience the hills. But many people go for other reasons. And to the Cayman Islands and to which are those other places, I don't know. You know, where you hide your tax and you hide your money and put in a secret bank account and no one knows and all that. So, people want to be in a place where they won't have to pay tax, where they can live freely. So the ultimate perfection of that is in the spiritual world. You can be free. Real freedom exists there. So let us move towards that. That will be the real success and perfection of our life. Sanatan Goswami, whose appearance day or birthday it is today on Guru Purnima, was a great saint, a great devotee of Lord Krishna, an intimate disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he wrote many wonderful literatures about Krishna consciousness. He explained the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in so much of detail. He wrote a book called the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which gives us practical instructions on how a devotee should live within this world, what a devotee should do and not do, and how a devotee should do things. Right down to things like how we should brush our teeth, how we should answer the call of nature, how we should bathe, right from such things, elementary things, all the way up to how to worship the deity of Krishna, what to offer, what not to offer, how to offer, and about life in general as a devotee. There is so much information he has given there. He has written another book called the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in which he describes many extraordinarily wonderful details about the spiritual world and about devotees. It's a very exciting novel of spiritual adventure. And in the second part, there is a story of a devotee called Gopal Kumar and his successive lives as he goes higher and higher. He's born as a cowherd in Govardhan, and then he gets the next life as a king. Then he goes on to be Indra, then he goes on to be Brahma, and goes on and on and on. And eventually comes back to Govardhan and recognizes that this is the perfection of life. To be serving Krishna, the eternal cowherd boy. So loving Krishna as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan is the highest perfection of our devotional service. When Krishna comes as Vishnu, as Narayan, in the world with 4 arms and with weapons, he kills the demons. That is an official form of Krishna. But in Vrindavan, Krishna is very informal. His activities are full of sweetness, full of the nectar of beauty and love. So therefore the residents of Vrindavan are considered the highest devotees of Krishna. So Sanatana Goswami, one of the main gurus in our sampradaya, is teaching us about the different ways of loving Krishna in the mood of the devotees of Vrindavan. So on this day of his birthday, we can offer our gratitude to him for the valuable knowledge that he has left behind for us, and for the wonderful example that he has set in his practical life. Today in Govardhan, all of Braj remembers Sanatana Goswami. Guru Purnima, people practically don't remember Vyasadeva in Braj. They will remember Sanatana Goswami because it was his birthday. And they shave their heads on this day and they do Govardhan Parikrama. So on this day of Guru Purnima, you will find the largest crowd in doing Govardhan Parikrama ever. Not even in Kartik you will find such crowds. There's literally hundreds of thousands of faithful people come all over from the villages of Braj and around from different states, out of regard and respect for Sanatana Goswami. And they do the Govardhan Parikrama. Young people, old people, children, you'll see them all walking along happily. In fact, there's no place to walk on the Parikrama. You keep bumping into each other. That's the kind of crowd of this day. And then they sometimes do it all night long. Because now it's very hot in India, so they may probably do it all night long. And all night long you'll see hundreds of thousands of people going along, walking along. This is faith. And this is such a nice culture. So we should not forget it. We should not let it become lost. So we should preserve it for our own happiness in life and for the happiness of those around us whom we love, and also for the future generations to come. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So I'd like to thank Champaklata, Priya, Mataji and Suresh Bhai for having kindly hosted us this evening. And thank you to all of you for having come here to participate in this satsang program. We hope that such satsang programs happen all the year round. We should make time to come and hear Krishna conscious discourses and to chant the holy names in the company of devotees. So if it happens too often in one home, it's difficult. So it can happen in different homes on a regular basis. And this is how our life should pass. Just being with devotees inviting them to our home, having Krishna Katha, Krishna Kirtan, and then next week somebody else is home. And ultimately, even if nobody's home, Radha Gokulananda's home is there. So we should visit regularly, take darshan, attend the classes, participate in the kirtans, do some seva, and make our life successful. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.
Do we have time for questions?
Anyone has a question?
If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Yes.
Maharaj, could you elaborate on reflection? So,
Reflection?
yeah, in terms of talking about mixed devotional service and making sure that it's pure, how do we, sometimes we obviously know, Punya and Bap you were saying, sometimes we obviously know, we're seeing the red light coming, we think anyway, we just go. But sometimes we're not so sure because we live in such a frantic lifestyle and society, culture. Could you speak a little bit on how, on a daily or occasional basis, we can realign and reflect properly so that we make sure our devotional service is pure and not mixed?
So your question is, how can we make sure that our devotional service is pure and not mixed? By mixed devotional service, what is meant is that we want to serve Krishna and make him happy. We want to serve him purely, but sometimes we also have some of our own desires to fulfill through devotional service. Then our devotional service is called mixed, meaning it is adulterated with some selfish conception. So how does one avoid mixed bhakti? That is the question. And the answer is by performing pure bhakti. By recognizing what are the polluting elements that adulterate our pure bhakti and make it mixed. What are those things that we need to be careful about? When you are preparing a dish, there will be many things that you remove, like some seeds. You may want to remove the seeds and throw them away. So you may want to remove the skin. So you may do some processing. You'll be careful. You don't want everything there. You want to remove certain things and keep aside certain things. So we must have the knowledge what to remove and what to keep. In other words, we must also know what constitutes pure desire and what constitutes an impure desire. Number one. For example, is going to the movies pure desire or an impure desire?
Impure. Impure.
Impure desire. Going to the pub. I'm chanting Hare Krishna, but I may want to go to the pub. Pure desire or impure desire? Impure desire. So in some cases the answer is obvious. But in some cases the answer is not so obvious. So in such cases we need to refer to the Shastra, to the scripture. We need to refer to the devotees in case of doubt, that I have to do this. Is that okay for me to do, or will that be an example of impure devotional service? So with a proper understanding of what is pure and impure, and also associating with devotees who are striving for pure devotional service, we will be able to move from mixed devotional service to pure devotional service. Anya vilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulena krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama. So pure devotional service, first class devotional service, is that which is rendered in a favorable spirit to Krishna, and it is not covered over by a fruitive mentality or by any speculative mentality. It is not contaminated by selfish desires. So that is the definition of pure devotional service. Is there any other question? Yes.
Maharaj, often in the material world, the doctrine of ignorance is bliss applies. Does that apply in the spiritual sense also?
The question is that in the material world it is said ignorance is bliss. Does that apply in the material world also? In a very different way. Not ignorance in the sense that we understand it. For example, ignorance of Krishna as God, ignorance of ourselves as the soul, is the cause of our karmic bondage, is the cause of our suffering in this world, is the cause of us having to take one material body after another, this wheel of samsara. It is this ignorance. So by gaining transcendental knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we are able to go beyond this ignorance, situate ourselves in knowledge, and then become pure devotees of Krishna, and then go to Krishna's abode, to Goloka Vrindavan. In the spiritual world, there are two categories. One is the planets where Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan presides, and the other where Lord Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan presides as the cowherd flute player. So in the section where Lord Narayan exists with four hands, there is full awareness that Narayan is God. And his devotees worship him in that spirit of awe and reverence. So they have been freed from all material ignorance, and they have come to perfect spiritual knowledge and to pure devotion. But they have awareness of the Godhood of God. But Vrindavan is special. So in Vrindavan, people are not aware of the Godhood of Krishna. Or even if they are aware, they are not concerned with it. So this is a very special form of unawareness of Krishna's Godhood. So you could call it ignorance, but it is not ignorance in the sense that we understand it here. That ignorance is actually the perfection of knowledge. Okay? So we also aspire to come to that stage of devotion where we will not be restrained in our dealings with Krishna with the consideration that he is God. Mother Yashoda is not concerned that Krishna is God. She deals with him like her son. Neither does Nanda Maharaj deal with Krishna as God. Neither do the cowherd boys, nor the gopis. But if we want to reach that stage of being an eternal associate of Krishna in Vrindavan, where we do not so much consider Krishna as God, then we have to go from material ignorance to spiritual knowledge. Then from spiritual knowledge, we have to come understanding fully Krishna's position and glories, developing love for him. Then we come to the point where we are eligible to go to Vrindavan and then not worry about Krishna being God. Any other question? Yes.
Maharaj, in 18th chapter, I think so, about renunciation, it's often Krishna says that one should not renounce prescribed duties. How one should understand what her or his prescribed duties are?
The question is that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one should not renounce one's prescribed duties. These prescribed duties are seen according to the Varnashrama Dharma, according to Varna and Ashrama. Ashrama means Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. We all have our prescribed duties in these stages of life. Similarly, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Now that is hardly existing now. That kind of division of varnas is very mixed up. But the ashrams, to some degree, it's there. So we must do the duties of our respective ashrams carefully and cautiously. So we should not give up these prescribed duties. We should dovetail them with Krishna's service. And primarily, all the 4 ashrams have 3 prescribed duties, which are common. Dan, Yajna, Tapa. Dan means charity, Yajna means sacrifice, Tapa means austerity. So everybody has to do these 3 types of duties. But the nature of that will change. For example, a grihastha, for a grihastha, dan means giving charity, not just in Krishna consciousness, giving knowledge to others, but also in terms of money, in terms of facility. But for a sannyasi, let's say, or a brahmachari who doesn't earn money, for such a person, charity means to just give the precious gift of Krishna consciousness, to share it with others. Yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. Varieties of sacrifices exist, but the highest sacrifice is the congregational chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. So that should be done by everybody, regardless of our ashram. Similarly, tapa, or austerity. The nature of the austerities may vary in these 4 ashrams, but everybody has to follow the basic austerities, like following the 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, and various other regulations that are there. So that is a kind of an austerity. We rise early in the morning. It is an austerity. Everybody is supposed to do that. So these are the prescribed duties, yajna, dana, tapa, that we should never ignore. Whatever our ashram, whatever our situation, we should do. Even a pure devotee of Krishna will have to do these 3. Okay? Yes.
You mentioned about the Papa and Punya. So, by our minimal knowledge, it's very easy to differentiate between Papa and Punya. So, effectively, it's very easy to differentiate between right and wrong, but it is very often very difficult to differentiate between right and right. And the example of whether Lakshman should have gone when Sita asked him to go to save Ram. So, one way he had to follow the duty what the Ram had instructed him. On the other hand, Mother Sita is asking him to, or instructing him to do that. So in that situation, we are faced very often, even in our devotional life, when we are performing, say, management duties or performing any other services, where the call is that that both options are right. In that situation, we often get perplexed and end up maybe not doing the right thing. So we just need some guidance in that one.
Okay, so the question is that it's often easy to make a choice between right and wrong. We know clearly what is right and what is wrong. But what happens when the choices confronting us are both right? Choice 1 is right, choice 2 is also right, and we have to choose one of them. Choose the one that is more right. Yes? The higher right. The far right. Don't be a leftist. Be a rightist. Right wing. Okay, so thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, you talked about the spiritual body and the material body.
Right.
How the material body is changing. How did we actually get into the material body in the first place?
Okay, so the question is, how did we get a material body in the first place? We have to go back many, many, many years in history. so many years that we can't keep track of it. Somehow or the other, the soul, the spiritual soul, has fallen into this material world out of a desire to enjoy separately from God, from Lord Krishna, and then was given this opportunity to come here. And then the moment we entered here, we contacted this material world, we were given a material body. Once we got that material body, we started performing karma, then the entanglement started. So when that exactly happened, it is impossible for us to find out and to understand. But suffice it to say that at some point in time in distant history, and by distant I mean really distant history, we somehow came here trying to be separate from Krishna, which is not really possible. So this material world is like a make-believe fantasy world, like a Disneyland, where we try to enjoy for some time. And then we realize, actually, okay, I have to get back now. So we've been in this world for long enough, and now time to go back to Krishna. Enough.
We actually came from that spiritual body.
Hmm?
We actually came from the spiritual body in the first place.
Well, we came from a certain realm. This is it's a question that is a very delicate question, but we came somewhere from the spiritual realm. We'll not get into all the details of where exactly we came from, but we came from somewhere not in this material world. From the borderline situation. We are Tatastha Shakti, the marginal energy of the Lord. And somehow we came here into this material world from that situation. And now our duty is to go back.
Once you're in the spiritual body or world, you don't come back.
Then you don't come back. That's Krishna's promise. Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Once the living entity reaches my abode, then it will never come back. So we are going for a one-way ticket. No need to get a return. Okay, thank you very much.